Shana Tova Tikatevu.
Shana
A
Tova.
sweet and meaningful new year. We begin our worship on page 2 of our Machzorim packets, our High Holiday prayer books, as we join together in singing Psalm 150, Hallelujah, page 2. Let's read together on page 3. This is the season of return, of returning to ourselves and our people, of returning to our God and returning to our calling. This is the season of quiet, of quieting the mind to hear the voice, of quieting the heart to hear the soul, of quieting the self to make space for the Ein Sof. This is the season of surrender, of surrendering fear and despair to hope and adventure, of surrendering odd quirks and old habits to dignity and kindness, and to honor and service. This is the season of return, of returning to wholeness and love, to prayer and charity, to family and friends. This is the season that reminds us of who we are and who we might become, the season that summons us to return our days to purpose and our lives to God's holy word. We turn to page 4 and we rise for the Baruch Hu. Top of page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Yotzehu uvorei Choshen Oseh shalom, shalom, uvoret hakol. Yotzehu uvorei Choshen Oseh shalom, shalom, uvoret hakol. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Yotzehu uvorei Choshen Oseh shalom, shalom, uvoret hakol. Yotzehu uvorei Choshen Oseh shalom, shalom, uvoret hakol.
Top of page 6. When the Holy One spoke, each and every person in Israel could say, the divine word is addressing me. Rabbi Yossi, the son of Hananiah, said, do not be surprised by this idea. For when manna came down to feed Israel, each person tasted it according to their capacity. For infants, it was like mother's milk. For the young, it was like bread with oil and honey, and for the old, like a honey cracker. What is true about the manna is also true about the divine word. Therefore, the Holy One said, do not be misled if you hear many voices. Know that I am the one God for each of you. We pray at the bottom of the page, Baruch atah Adonai, habocher bi'amo Yisrael, bi'ahava.
Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. We will know that you are one.
Let's rise for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto
Let's be seated. So we join together on page 8.
And you will love Adonai, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And all these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart. And you will teach them diligently unto your children. And you will speak of them when you're sitting in your house, when you're walking by the way, you're lying down, and when you're rising up, and when you're rising, and you will bind them for a sign upon your hand. They will be for frontlets between your eyes. And you will write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates, and upon your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
Let's read responsively on page 9. True and enduring, all else is fluid, impermanent, fleeting.
Unsteady we falter, in chaos we cry, in quest for some certainty, an anchor for trust.
Sur chayenu magen yishenu, rock of our lives, our shield and protector, you are the constant, abiding through time.
The rock whose works speak of wholeness and justice, you, the still center, fixed point where we stand.
From the ends of the earth, from the depths of despair, we call with the psalmist to our fortress and refuge. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I.
Our rock and salvation, our shelter and strength. Grounded in you, we shall never be shaken.
The towers of cities will crumble with age, and iron corrodes and decays into rust.
But the words and teachings that echo from Sinai are true and enduring.
Forever they stand.
Wandering in the desert, so easy to feel alone. We all need to know redemption from a hand stronger than our own. from a hand stronger than our own, from a hand stronger than our own. Redemption, 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 redemption.
Spiritually or physically, we rise for the Amidah, page 10.
Open up our lips and our mouths may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'imahot, U'mevig Geulah livnei bneihem, Leman Shemo b'ahava. Zochreinu l'chaim, v'lechofetz b'chaim, v'chotvenu b'sefer ha'chaim, kotvenu b'sefer ha'chaim, lemancha Elohim chayim. Mashiach u'magid, Baruch atah Adonai. Magin Avraham Bezrat Sarah.
Let's read together. We cannot pray to you, O God, to banish war,
for
you have filled the war with paths to peace. If only we would take them. We cannot pray to you to end starvation, for there is food enough for all, if only we would share it. We cannot merely pray for prejudice to cease, for we might see the good in all that lies before our eyes, if only we would use them. We cannot merely pray root out despair, for the spark of hope already waits within the human heart for us to fan it into flame. We must not ask of you, O God, to take the task that you have given us. We cannot shirk, we cannot flee away, avoiding obligation forever. Therefore we pray, O God, for wisdom and will, for courage to do and to become,
not only to look on with helpless yearning, as though we had no strength.
For your sake and ours, speedily and soon, let it be, that our land may be safe, that our lives may be blessed. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol.
In a moment, we will recite the words from Unatana Tokef, a prayer that is meant to affect us. It is meant to penetrate us. It is meant to challenge us and to push us. We are meant to see ourselves in its words. But we are mindful that there are those in our midst for whom these words may cut too close. Words that might too accurately describe our situation. So I would ask, if these words are too much today, on this birthday of the world, if you need to remove yourself and then come back refreshed and renewed for the Kedusha, you are welcome to do so at this time. An empty page, an open book, a day of ultimate questions. Will I still be here next year at this time with the ones I love beside me? What is in store for my family? What will become of my friends? Who will have reason to celebrate? Who will contend with grief? New loves, new babies, marriages deepening or breaking apart, prosperity, struggle, reversals of fortune, illness, and health await. Who will be missing when we gather next? Who will be standing apart? Who will be estranged? And who will have joined us, enriching our community? On the edge of the unknown we tremble. What lies ahead for us all? An empty page, an open book. Nothing is written. Nothing is sealed. Flesh and blood, frail creatures, our lives are fleeting and subject to chance. Yet this we possess, the strength to persist, to prevail, to comfort one another in the dark. Prayer, right action, a turning toward the good. These give us hope and help us bear the pain of life. Let us proclaim the power of this day, days whose holiness awakens deepest to awe and inspires highest praise for your dominion. For your throne is a throne of love. Your reign is a reign of truth. And here is the truth of this day. You are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal. You record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other. And so a great shofar will cry Tekiah. A still small voice will be heard. Angels in a whirl of fear and trembling will see a vision and say, behold the day of judgment, for they too are judged. In your eyes even they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you like sheep before the shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock, when it passes beneath the staff, you count and consider every life. You set bounds, you decree destiny, you inscribe judgments.
Rosh HaShanah, Yikatevun, Uviom Zom Kippur, Uviom Zom Kippur, Yikatevun, Uviom Zom Kippur, Uviom Zom Kippur, Yikatevun, Rosh HaShanah, Yikatevun, Uviom Zom Kippur, Uviom Zom Kippur, Yikatevun, Uviom Zom Kippur, Uviom Zom Kippur, Yikatevun.
Page 15. On Rosh HaShanah, we reflect. On Yom Kippur, we consider. Who shall live for the sake of others? Who dying shall leave a heritage of life? Who shall burn with the fires of greed? Who shall drown in the waters of despair? Whose hunger shall be for the good? Who shall thirst for justice and right?
Rosh HaShanah, Yikatevun, Uviom Zom Kippur, Uviom Zom Kippur, Yikatevun, Uviom Zom Kippur, Uviom Zom Kippur, Yikatevun.
Whose tongue shall be a thrusting sword? Whose words shall make for peace? Who shall be plagued by fear of the world? Who shall strangle for lack of friends? Who shall rest at the end of the day? Who lies sleepless on a bed of pain? Who shall go forth in the quest for truth? Who shall be locked in the prison of self? Who shall be serene in every storm? Who shall be troubled by the passing breeze?
Rosh HaShanah, Yikatevun, Uviom Zom Kippur, Uviom Zom Kippur, Yikatevun, Uviom Zom Kippur, Uviom Zom Kippur, Yikatevun.
Who shall be poor in the midst of possessions? Who shall be rich, content with their lot? Repentance, prayer, and charity, these return us to our God. Forgiven the past, renewed for tomorrow, may we go forth with rejoicing to a year of great goodness. we rise physically or spiritually.
We are gifts and we are blessings. We are history in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. The door of a door, the door of a door, we protect their strength from generation to generation. The door of a door, these lips will praise your name. We are blessed and we are holy. We are children of your way. And the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to say. The door of a door, knock it, door, the door of adore, seasons will praise your name.
Using the words on the pages up to page 23 or the words in your hearts, I invite you to reflect silently.
Ose shalom bin Roma, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tzevel,
In a few moments, after I'm done speaking, after Avinu Malkeinu, Shechina Makor Chayenu, and the Hakafa, a Torah parade that is either too long or too short, depending on your point of view, we will settle into our Torah service, our Torah reading, and we will hear the Akedat Yitzchak, the binding of Isaac, chanted beautifully by our congregants. We will hear about how God asks, no, not asks, commands Abraham to take his son, the only one of his wife Sarah, his miracle child, his child, her child of laughter, and sacrifice him. That's not a metaphor. Abraham must take a knife, slit his son's throat, and place him on the fire as an offering. A test, we are told. As many of you have frequently observed, this is a really uncomfortable text. Why on earth are we reading this text on Rosh HaShanah? The Sunday school answer, of course, is because of the ram Abraham will see and sacrifice instead of his son. The ram then being the source of the shofar, the ram's horn which we sound on this day. In light of the cruelty of this story, the argument's kind of weak. Couldn't we read the Ten Commandments or the 7 days of creation or literally anything else except a story about a man murdering his son in the name of his God? I used to think that the pivot point in this text was the dialogue between Abraham and his son Isaac as they went up the hill, as they went up Mount Moriah. Isaac asks, "Where is the sheep to sacrifice?" And Abraham answers that God will see to it. A wink and a nod to us, the readers, that all is not lost. But I'm starting to think that there's a different moment, actually two moments, that are the key to understanding this text and why we read it on the new year. Throughout the story, we encounter the word see, to look. It is seen over and over again. It is a leitmotif of the text. As Abraham sees things, as God sees things, God shows Abraham things, etc., and so forth. But twice, a different turn of phrase is used. Twice, instead, we read that Abraham lifts up his eyes. Vayisa et einav. At which point he sees something. First, the mountain of Moriah off in the distance. And then, with his arm stretched up over his son, the ram in the thicket. When we read that Abraham lifts his eyes, it's as if what he's seeing wasn't there before. That is, this isn't just that he didn't notice the mountain or the ram a moment ago. It's not that he wasn't paying attention. Rather, it is that when Abraham sees, when he lifts up his eyes, was literally not there until that moment when his eyes were opened. In fact, the Talmud lists the ram in the thicket as a miracle created at the beginning of all things, waiting for its moment to save Isaac. And it's not just that Abraham sees a place to offer his child, a ram to offer in his stead. What he sees, what Abraham sees, are choices, moral choices. As I've shared with you before, probably more times than you'd like me to remind you, there's a way to read this text as if Abraham was given and failed the test. Instead of challenging God, Abraham submits, and God must stop the test before anything bad happens. I still think that's true. I still think there's a way to read this text in that way. But I think in light of these other two moments where Abraham lifts up his eyes, there's another reading here that is equally true. Abraham has a choice to make when he sees Moriah in the distance, whether to take Isaac up there or to do something else, literally anything else, to save his son. Likewise, when Abraham lifts up his eyes, his hand outstretched, the knife poised to plunge, and he sees the ram, Abraham recognizes the opportunity. and takes it. When Abraham lifts up his eyes, he has a moment of moral clarity. And so it is with us today as we read this text. This story shocks us. Good. This story horrifies us on a day when we would much rather hear the shofar, have some honey cake, and hear for the umpteenth time that story that our uncle tells every single year, but we let him tell it and we listen because he's our uncle and we love him. Fine. Good. This is a story to shake us. This is a story to challenge us before we go back to the mundanity of our lives. Before we giggle at the tikiyah gedolah that will come at the end of the shofar service and go back home to watch the ball game. As it is for Abraham, it is a moment of moral clarity for each of us. A moment where we should be opening our eyes to what is going on and asking ourselves, what am I doing? What are the limits of violence, of indignity, of pain that we are willing to tolerate? Let me make the question explicit. What are our limits? What is our moment of moral clarity? I ask because we are being challenged as a people and a nation as never before. Every day brings its new sin of bigotry and malice. Even in our community, when we have Muslim kids kicked out of a swimming pool because of the clothes they wear, when we have, and I mentioned this last night as well, children as young as 1 and 2 defending themselves in immigration court, trying to plead asylum. Again and again, our moral clarity is tested. When we see the working poor, including men and women in uniform, increasingly left adrift by a nation that seems to no longer believe that a rising tide should lift all ships, our moral boundaries are tested. And surely we are challenged when we do turn to help, when we go to the rally with our allies and friends, and we are turned away because of our love for Israel. It is not that these issues weren't there before, mind you. Many of us, many people in this room have been fighting this fight for a long time, have been knee-deep in the fight against poverty and bigotry and depravity. But now it feels like the fires are burning out of control and no one is bringing any water. We are, as a society, at the moment, between when Abraham raises the knife and God's voice emerges from the heavens. And like Abraham, we don't know if the voice is going to come in time. We can't see the ram yet. So what do we do? What is our task? It was Nachman of Bratslav who said, the entire world is a narrow bridge. The important thing is not to be afraid. Today, he might qualify that statement and say, the important thing is to not feel helpless. We may feel helpless. We may feel that there is nothing we can do except stare at what is transpiring in our community and our nation and our world with that pit in our stomach. But helplessness is as much a learned behavior as is anything else. And action is a learned behavior as well. We cannot wave a magic wand and make everything all right. That's not how the world works. But we can choose to set down our sense of powerlessness and take up whatever action our minds, our bodies, and our capabilities allow. We must remember that we have agency. We have choices. And so long as we have agency, so long as we have the power to choose and to do, then there is hope. Our task, therefore, is to open up our eyes and then to act. We cannot wait for the ram to appear or for the voice of God to stop the knife. We cannot wait for someone else to step up. We must act, and we must act without ambiguity and with the full moral clarity in our actions. To begin with, we must be civically engaged. We must challenge our elected leaders, even when we like them, maybe especially when we like them. We cannot wait for the exact right time or the exact right legislation or the exact right person. We must challenge them and push them to alleviate the pain in our communities. And we have an opportunity to do exactly that. On September 17th, this is next week, at the JCC, or Siegel JCC here in town, Jewish Federation's JCRC, along with Hadassah, hosts the Candidate Forum. Many of you have been to it before. As you depart, there's a handout for the Candidate Forum and an additional card that has a link to our Religious Action Center that has resources on how to engage candidates, questions that we might want to ask if we're having trouble coming up with our own, questions that speak to our values as progressive Jews, questions for Republican and Democrat alike, and even independents if there are still some left in this world. If you are free that evening, I want you to take those two resources home, look at the questions, maybe you have one or two of your own, submit them in advance, go and be present and press every person who runs for state office, statewide office, who's going to be there. And if you think you can't go, clear up your schedule. And if there's no way you can go, start asking the tough questions right now. Get on the phone. Get on your email. This is Delaware. Grab them in the checkout line at the supermarket. Corner them when they jog past your house. One state senator, I called her for one issue a couple of years ago. I called the number on the website. I got her home number. I love this state. There is no reason why we cannot question and challenge those people we have sent to serve us, to stand up for our values, and to continue to reach out long after that candidate forum is done. Next, we must challenge our friends and neighbors. We all know people who are really happy to reshare a meme or recirculate an email. Have you asked your friends if they're registered to vote? Have you asked them if they're volunteering their time, giving of themselves to causes in our community and our country that make a difference? Have you asked them if they're being as generous as they should be with their resources? Are they working to make this world better? Or are they just clicking like? I know how engaged and civically minded this room is, how many of the people in this room take the time to research candidates, to vote, how many people in this room have run for public office themselves. It was a joy to watch on my social media stream how many of you were out there on primary day showing off your I voted stickers. What I'm asking you to do, all of us to do, is to reach out to our friends and our family, to our neighbors, and push them to do the same. Get one more person, a family member, a friend, someone who thinks their voice doesn't matter. Help them research. Help them think about the issues that matter to them. help them learn about the candidates that are up for election, and to go to the polls in November and to vote their conscience. Finally, we must challenge ourselves. It's time to show up. It's time to march. It's time to speak out. It's time to work and to work hard for the kind of community we believe in. If our eyes are truly open to what is and to what ought to be, then we need to put ourselves as fully as possible into the work. I've been immensely proud of how our congregants have marched, have written letters, have given of their time and wealth. But marching and protests, civic engagement, writing letters, all of that only goes so far. There is pain in our community right now. There is need in our community right now. There is brokenness in our community right now that needs to be fixed, to be healed, to be salved. Last night I mentioned the words written on the walls of this synagogue right behind me, the words on this very sanctuary. Do justly, love mercy, walk humbly with thy God. These words were and continue to be a call to action. Our congregation has a long history of working to alleviate poverty. If you've ever experienced poverty yourself, and I know some of you have, whether it is through your own personal experience, or maybe you did something like the SNAP Challenge, where you tried to live on the meager resources provided by our social safety net, you know how much pain and suffering food and housing insecurity causes. And we know how much pain and suffering there is in our community, in this city. According to our friends at the Food Bank of Delaware, 1 in 8 Delaware families are food insecure. 1 in 6 children. That's over 114,000 people. We've seen the need. We've answered the call in the past. We've partnered with Family Promise for several years, and we have another opportunity to do that to help house homeless families nearby, starting on September 23rd. We have joined with our brothers and sisters of other faiths to pack Thanksgiving meals in November. Our sisterhood and confirmation classes have partnered with Ministry of Caring to help with their soup kitchens. We have supported our congregant Brennan Stark, who at age 19 is building sustainable housing for low-income families here in Wilmington, and heaven knows he needs our help. All that's going to continue. All that will remain. But we're going to be committing to something else, something new, a new project that will help our neighborhood and our community. For 10 years, we have gathered food as part of Project Isaiah at the high holidays, filling a truck or more than a truck with grocery bags, hundreds of pounds of food each year, which are then taken to the Delaware Food Bank, which then distributes them to other food pantries. People don't get the food directly from. That food goes to other food pantries. We've done this for years. We've done it with joy. We're going to do something different this year. Don't worry, the bags are still out there. You're still going to hear me insisting that you bring those shopping bags home with you. But this year, when those bags come back, they're going to stay. Because we are opening a food pantry here in this building. Starting in November, and with thanks to our Executive Director, John Eulish, and our Social Action Committee, once a week, coordinated with other support services in the community, other emergency food pantries, we are going to open our doors to those in need around us, providing emergency resources for individuals and families who are trying to make ends meet. Maybe they're on SNAP, and it's the end of the month, and the resources are running out. Maybe they've lost their job. Maybe they're sick. Maybe they don't have a way to get to the market. Their transportation doesn't exist, or they're homebound. Whatever their circumstance, we are going to be here. We are going to be here. It's got to be we. It's got to be all of us. We're going to need volunteers to help stock and sort, to help our new friends shop for their groceries. And that's not the end. If this is successful, if we are able to help the community in the way that we think we are, if we're able to pull this off, our vision is to expand, to offer other resources, maybe to move from non-perishable food to perishable food, perhaps to have a social worker here who can help our friends get the social services they need. Perhaps we'll have somebody here from Christiana Care, a medical professional, who can do screenings, who can provide other support. Perhaps there are needs out there, perhaps. We know there are needs out there that we are unaware of. And as we get to know our new friends, we will find a way to step into the breach. We are going to make our spiritual home, this place that we have loved and that has loved us, a place that supports the people around us. Because we have to. Because we must answer the call. We must respond to the crippling needs we see around us. To do otherwise would be an act of idolatry, a rejection of the image of God present in every human being. If we pretend that this space is only for us, that we are helpless in the face of poverty, if we look in the mirror tonight and say, there's nothing more that I can do, how dare we call ourselves Jews? Because Jews act. And you know as well as I do, Jews don't wait for permission. As you collect your shopping bags, there will be new instructions on those bags of what we need and how to volunteer to help. As usual, still no matzah, please. And if you come back Erev Sukkot, there will be a special program for anyone who wants to participate. And as I said, we're going to need all hands on deck for this. And finally, as you depart, I encourage you to take a quick peek at the space we'll be using. Still a work in progress, but in all of its glory. A space that we are going to fill with your shopping bags. Every year we collect, I said, a truck to a truck and a half or 2 trucks worth of food. I would love to see us bring in 6 worth supply for that food pantry. And from this point forward, let that shopping bag or 2 or 5 be a starting point for us, not the end point. I encourage us to be generous in spirit, that every time we enter this building, we have non-perishable groceries in our hand to bring to our food pantry. That we find the time, all of us, each of us, to volunteer our time to make that space viable. Whether we want to be a front-facing person helping our friends shop or hiding in the back doing the stocking and categorizing and collating, there's enough work for everyone. And I would dare say, even encourage people to ask your friends, if you know someone, whether they're a member of this community or not, and you know that they have a passion for this, ask them to join us. Ask them to come along. Ask them to be a part of this great adventure in helping our community. Our eyes are lifted up. Our eyes are open. The task is before us. What shall we do? Do we embrace the choice before us, or do we sacrifice that choice on the altar of hopelessness and helplessness? At our URJ Camp Harlem, before the Amidah, they often sing words written by song leader, Jewish musician, and a longtime friend, Julie Silver. The words say, "Open my eyes to truth. Open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love." Our eyes are open. May the rest follow, and follow soon, as we say, Amen.
As we continue with Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the service for the reading of the Torah on page 29. It's my pleasure to call up representatives from the Bestie board. Bestie is our temple youth group, our 8th through 12th graders who do all sorts of things. It's a peer-led organization. I also want to invite Sarah Satinsky, our new Bestie advisor, to join the Bestie board, and acknowledge Reese Ratliff, the Bestie president, who is leading us in music, so is exempt from carrying a Torah. He's carrying us in song instead. Let us rise. We're on page 29.
אין כמוך אלוהים אדוני ואין כמעשיך מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור אדוני מלך אדוני מלך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן Adonai yivorech et amo b'shalom.
Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice. Shechina makor chayenu, shim'i kolenu, chosi v'rachami aleinu.
Shekhinah, source of our lives, hear our plea,
spare us, have compassion on us. Avinu Malkeinu Chatanu Lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have sinned against you.
Shechina makor chayenu, zichri ki vanayich uvenotayich anachnu.
Motherly presence, source of our lives, keep us in your care, for we are your sons and your daughters.
Avinu Malkeinu Chamol Aleinu Va'al Olalenu V'tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our children.
Shechina makor chayenu, chanchi otanu lahakir b'miglotenu.
Holy presence, source of our lives, teach us to know our limits.
Avinu Malkeinu Kaleh Dever V'cherev V'ra'av Me'alenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, make an end to sickness, war, and famine.
Shechina makor chayenu, hadrichi otanu b'darchei noam.
Gentle presence, source of our lives, guide us in pleasant ways.
Avinu Malkeinu Kaleh Kol Tsar Umastin Me'alenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, make an end to all oppression.
Shechina makor chayenu, lamdi otanu rachamim utzedakah.
Guiding presence, source of our lives, teach us mercy and justice.
Avinu Malkeinu Kodvenu B'Sefer Hayim Tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us for blessing in the book of life.
Shechina makor chayenu, asi lema'an hane'evakim l'shalom u'letzedek.
Nurturing presence, source of our lives, support those who struggle for peace and justice.
Avinu Malkeinu Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, let the new year be a good year for us.
Shechina makor chayenu, hifchi evlenu l'sason v'yigonenu l'simcha.
Compassionate presence, source of our lives, turn our lamentation to exaltation and our sorrow to joy.
Avinu Malkeinu Maleh Yadenu Mibirchotecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, fill our hands with blessing.
Shechina mekor chayenu. Barchi admatenu v'chol ma'aseh yadenu.
Caring presence, source of our lives, bless our land and all the work of our hands.
Avinu Malkeinu, Hanenu va'anenu, ki ein banu ma'asim, aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, be gracious and answer us,
for we have little merit. Treat us generously and with kindness, and be our help.
Avinu Malkeinu, Hanenu v'anenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Hanenu v'anenu. Imanu ma'aseh, aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu. Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu. Adonai, Adonai, Rachum v'chanun Adonai, 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 Rachum v'chanun Adonai, Erech apayim v'rav chesed ve'emet Adonai, notzer chesed alafim, notzer avon v'fesha v'chata v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, Erachum v'chanun Adonai, 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 Erachum v'chanun Adonai. Su she'arim rashem, u'zeh u'b'nei olam, v'yagov v'lekavod, mihu zeh v'lekavod, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu. Adonai, Adonai,
We call up all of our participants in our Torah service, those who are chanting Torah for this service, and our aliyot.
And as they're on their way up, I want to talk a little bit more about the ram, who, as Rabbi Robinson said, was created at the twilight of Shabbat during the week of creation. Now, what's really interesting about this ram is that the ram's story doesn't end with the Akedah. It doesn't end with this story. Because we're told by the rabbis that in the future of this story, after this part, one of the horns of the ram becomes the shofar that was played, that was blasted to announce revelation, to announce the giving of the Torah. And we're told that in the future, even in the future from now, the other horn will become the shofar that is blown when the Messiah comes, when we reach a time where the world is better, where we've reached an age of perfection. Now, what's interesting about this whole tradition of the items created, Bein Hashmashot, at the dawn of Shabbat, the last moment God could create anything, is that all of these items are necessary for the story of the Jewish people to take place, and really for the story of the world to take place. So what I take from that is that the story of the ram, much like the sound of the shofar, which sounds as ancient as it does calling us to the very moment we're hearing it and calling us into the future towards action, the story of the ram is like that. It reminds us our lives are full of moments of choice, moments where we can act with moral clarity. And it's up to us to listen to that so that we, all of us, can together help this world be fixed and help us all arrive at that age where the world is better, where we've fixed the brokenness that exists.
Our Torah reading can be found on page 34 in our Machzorim. We call forward Emma Leibowitz, one of our teachers, to chant Torah as our Ba'at Kriya, and we call forward Amanda Lewis, our board member, as our first aliyah. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu, hu yivarech et Aida bat Pinchas uPeril, she'alta lichvod Torah.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayehi achar hadvarim ha'eleh v'han Elohim nisa et Avraham vayomer elav Avraham vayomer hineni vayomer kachna et bincha et yehicha asher ahavta et yizkach v'lech lecha asher eretz Amoriah v'halehu sham le'olam al echad hecharim asher mar lecha vayashkem Avraham baboker v'yachavash et homaro vayikach et shnei naro ito v'ata yizkava b'yakach v'atzei yizkama v'yakov v'yet lecha al hamakom asher amar lecho ha'Elohim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. For our second aliyah, we call forward Marsha Russakow, and we call Craig Sternberg forward as our next Baal Korah. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu, hu yivarechet Marislata bat Chaim Shlema ubina tova sha'alta lichvod Torah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah.
Amen.
Vayom hashlishi, vayisa Avraham et einav, vayah et hamakom erachok. Vayomer Avraham el ne'arav, shavu lachem po, im hechamor, va'ani v'hana'ar, ne'ocha ad ko, v'nishtachave v'nashuva aleichem. Vayikach Avraham et atzei ha'olah, vayasem al Yitzchak beno, vayikach biyado et ha'esh v'et ha'ma'achelet, v'yachu shnehem yachdav. Vayomer Yitzchak el Avraham aviv, vayomer avi, vayomer hineni v'ni, vayomer Hine ha'esh v'ha'etzim v'ayeh haseh le'olam. Vayomer Avraham Elohim yireh lo haseh le'olam v'ni ve'elchu shnehem yachdav. Vayavo el hamakom asher amo lo Elohim Vayiven sham Avraham et hamizbeach, vaya'aroch et ha'etzim, vaya'akod et Yitzchak beno, vayasem oto al hamizbeach, v'ma'ala etzim, vayishlach Avraham et yado, vayikach et hama'achelet, Lishchot et beno, vayikra elav, ma'ach Adonai min hashamayim, vayomer Avraham, vayomer hineni, vayomer al tishlach yadcha el hana'ar, v'al ta'as lo me'uma, ki ata yadati, ki yireh Elohim ata, v'lo chasachta, et bincha v'yechidcha mimeni. Vayisa Avraham et einav, vayar v'hine ayil achar, ne'achaz basvav bekarnav, vayelech Avraham, vayikach et ha'ayil, vayalehu le'olah tachat beno, vayikra Avraham, Shem hamakom hahu Adonai yireh, Asher ye'amer hayom, Behar Adonai yireh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher natan lanu Torah temet v'chaye olam nota b'chtochenu Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'torah.
At the risk of embarrassing anybody, Craig's son, Charlie, chanted at our tot service this morning. So we're making a family habit out of it, which is wonderful. Our third and final aliyah, our Bal'at Kri'ah, is Cheryl Hampson, and our aliyah is Timothy Casper Johnson. Mishaberach Avotenu Vimotenu Huyaberach et Tomer ben Basha v'Rivka she Allah lichvod Torah.
Barku et Adonai Hambarak.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarak Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bakar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'torah.
Amen.
Vayikra Melech Adonai El Avraham Sheni Min Hashamayim Vayomer Binishpati Neum Adonai Ki Yan Asher Asita Et Hadavar Hazeh Velo Hasakta Et Bincha Et Yeridecha Ki Varech Abarechecha Veharba Arbe Et Zarecha Kehokave Hashamayim Veho Asher Asafat Hayam Vayirash Taracha Et Sha'a Oyavav Vehit Barakhu Bezaracha Ko Goye Haaretz Ekev Asher Shamata Bekuli Vayashav Avraham El Narav Vayakumu Vayelchu Yachdav El Be'er Shava V'yoshev Avraham Biver Shava.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chaye olam nata betukenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. And with the Torah before us, we think of those in our lives, those members of our community who are ill. Whether they suffer a sickness of the body, an illness of the mind, a malady of the spirit, we pray that they come to a refuah shlema, a healing of wholeness, a sense of peace within themselves, a sense of peace between them and the universe. I invite you to think of the people or the person that you are praying for their healing. Hold their name in your heart. Take a moment and you can say their name out loud. And let us all pray for those who are in need of healing. The Misha Berach, our prayer for healing, is on page 36.
Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. We share with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
We rise for Vizot HaTorah on page 37.
Vizot HaTorah asher sam Moshe לפני
We're on page 37 with service for the sounding of the shofar. It's my pleasure to invite up Lori Rosh, our Ba'alat Tehiyah, our shofarist for this service. We're on page 37. In the 7th month, on the first day of the month, there shall be a sacred assembly.
ובחודש השביעי באחר לחודש מקרא קודש יהיה לכם.
A cessation from work, a day of commemoration.
מלאכת עבודה לא תעשו.
Proclaimed by the sound of the shofar. From the tunnels of shofar comes a wailing and an inner moaning from the depths of our souls. My heart beats faster when I stand and listen. I enter a mild meditation as the sounds reverberate against the walls of the synagogue and back into my ears, listening to the tekiyah, the shvarim, and the truah. They enter my heart like waves coming into the shore of the ocean. Tears stream down my face as I think of how I got to this point in my life. Tears of joy mixed with tears of sorrow. Each year we enter a new corridor of hope, grasping onto the branches of the tree of life. Our prayers raise us up on wings of the angelic forces, braiding a crown on the head of a king. We must grab life by its lapels and do what is our divine task. Lift us up over the waters of life. The echoes of the shofar help us to transcend, so we see and regain a perspective on our lives, reflecting on our year behind and setting goals for our year ahead. There is so much to accomplish, no time to waste. The shofar breaks the opposing forces. It breaks apart our individual serenity. It shakes us to our core. The sounds release angst about life's challenges. It's time for renewal. It's time for growth. We are being given another chance on the scales of life.
Wake me up so I can prepare. Listen to my prayer. Hear my voice, I know you understand. Wake me to this need.
We rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol l'tid gedolo liotzer bereshit shelo asanu kigoyei haratzot velo zarmanu kimishpachot adama shelo sam chelkeinu kahem וגורלנו ככל המונם ומשתחווים ומוידים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לשמוע קול שופר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. תקיע שברים תרועה תקיע תקיע שברים תקיע תקיע תרועה תקיע.
You may be seated.
אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו זוכרנו בזיכרון טוב לפניך ופוקדנו בפקודת ישוע ברחמים בשמי
Dear God, Moses, placed in the basket by the river, kept silent, too frightened to cry. Abraham, walking up the mountain with Isaac, kept silent, refusing to give way to the wild sounds of his own grief. When Aaron's children were taken from him, Aaron was silent, for there were no words. Ruth walked without a sound to the fields, for she could give no voice to her loss and her hope. We too are fearful. We stay hidden behind our respectable masks. Our tears dried, our faces composed. Our fears are unexpressed, our cries buried deep within. Like Moses, Abraham, Aaron, and Ruth, we are too awed or too timid or simply too self-conscious to open our wounds to the world. You have given us a way to cry. Behind the thicket, Abraham found the ram and the instrument of our expression. The shofar will cry for us. In the shvarim, the brokenness that afflicts our hearts. In the truah, the blasts of pain, hope, or recognition that sometimes sear our souls. In the Tekiah, the hope for wholeness, we cry out from healing as we do from hurt. We cry in supplication, in loss, and in love. Dear God, help us learn the sounds of the shofar, the sound of our history, the sound of our sorrows. Let it draw us closer to you with each blast, with each whispered promise, with each unspoken prayer. Tekiah Gedolah, for ourselves, our ancestors, our children, let us listen to the cries of the shofar. In each note is the secret, ancient anguish of the Jewish heart. In its sound is our awakening and hope for redemption.
Baruch atah Adonai, zocher habrit.
We rise.
Tekiah, Shevarim Teruah. Tekiah, Tekiah, Shevarim. Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah. Tekiah.
We believe in tomorrow. We believe that we have the power to make tomorrow different from today. We believe that poverty need not be permanent and that people need not learn war anymore. We believe that there can be a time of peace and a time of justice, a time of tranquility for all who live on earth. We believe that we can share in bringing that day closer by the way in which we live in the new year. The world may smile at our dreams, but no matter, we still believe. We as Jews persist in the belief that the human being was created not for evil, but for good, not a curse, but a precious blessing.
Olam chesed yibaneh. Olam chesed yibaneh. Olam chesed yibaneh. Olam chesed yibaneh. I will build this world from love. And you can build this world from love. And if we build this world from love, then God will build this world from love. Oh yeah,
rise once more for the final calls of the shofar.
Tekiah. Shevarim teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shevarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah gedolah.
Call Brad Aaron Sam and Ellen Casper Johnson to lead us on pages 46 and 47 in prayers for our community and for the state of Israel. God of old, bless our holy congregation, during these days of awe, these days of judgment, these days of forgiveness, for all your servants, men, women, and children,
old and young, lovers of Torah, the strong and the infirm, teachers and students, lovers of your way, beautiful in our imperfection, doing your will when joy surrounds us, doing your will even yet when our hearts are broken. God, whose name is mercy, God, whose name is truth, our lives are in your hands. Our time is fleeting. You number our days. Grant our synagogue steadfast compassion, adoring devotion, strength, wisdom, and kindness. Let us celebrate together with fullness of heart. Let us mourn together under a tent of comfort and care. Let us serve you from generation to generation, light of hope, the light of love, the light of devotion.
Our God, Eli, in this sacred moment, give us hope for Israel and her future. Renew our wonder at the miracle of the Jewish state. In the name of the pioneers who made the deserts bloom, give us tools to cultivate a diversity of Jewish expression in Israel. And in the name of our fallen soldiers, give us courage to stand up to the words and the ways of zealots, those in our own midst and those among our neighbors. In the name of Israeli inventors who have amazed the world with their innovations, help us apply the same ingenuity to find a path to peace. In the name of all these women and men, grant us strength to conquer doubt and despair in Israel, replacing doubt with action, replacing despair with hope. And let us say, Amen.
An anecdote from High Holidays past. Our High Holy Day services were held at the New Century Club at 1014 Delaware Avenue for the first time in 1944. A building committee was formed. The architectural firm of Bloch and Hess of New York began plans for the new temple. On Yom Kippur Eve, 1951, with much trepidation, the Finance Committee asked for additional funds for the new building. Under the able leadership of Harry Jacobs, $120,310 was pledged that evening with enthusiasm and with dignity. When I learned this part of the story of how Congregation Beth Emet came to build our current home, I was floored. Because in 2018 dollars, that $120,310 is actually $1.15 million. And so I started asking questions about the history of the congregation and about Harry Jacobs. I heard things like, that ask was a once-in-a-lifetime event, and Harry Jacobs was the only person who could have made an ask like that. So I went into the memorial alcove to find Harry Jacobs. He died in 1990, which means today we are firmly in someone else's lifetime. I'm not going to stand up here and channel Harry Jacobs, or even Jerome Trotter, who was both president and chair of the building committee that year. Today, I'd like to talk more about the history of generosity at Beth Emeth. A gift from Mrs. Milton Kutz to provide for the beauty of the chapel and the crown wall was accepted by resolution passed by the Board of Directors on January 19, 1954. The chapel of the new temple Beth Emeth shall be dedicated to the memory of Milton Kutz, and henceforth shall be known and appropriately designated as the Milton Kutz Memorial Chapel of Temple Beth Emeth. As many of you already know, Milton and Hattie Kutz were very generous people. There are many things and places that bear their name, both here in Delaware and nationwide. However, we do not need to be Milton and Hattie Kutz to live generously. As a congregational family, we support and celebrate each other. Look around you. You are surrounded by the generous spirit that is Beth Emeth. Spirit comes in many forms, but in order to maintain, sustain, and grow this community, we also need generosity. As I mentioned before, some generosity is financial. In the 1970s, the Kramers helped us create an endowment by giving us one generous gift. We are incredibly lucky, as their generosity has enabled us to thrive. In fact, this endowment serves as both our safety net and our foundation. It's what allows Beth Emeth to be Delaware's Reform congregation, leading and inspiring the greater Wilmington community through our values of tzedakah and tikkun olam. This May, Beth Emeth will be 114 years young. While chances are even the youngest members of our congregation won't be in this sanctuary to celebrate our 200th anniversary in 2105, we pride ourselves on encouraging and inspiring one another to deepen our commitment to Judaism and to transmit our Jewish values to the next generation. Part of the gift to future generations is keeping this congregation alive and vibrant. One of the ways to ensure this participation in our L'Dor V'Dor Legacy Circle. As a congregation, we have the opportunity to grow our endowment through our participation in the community-wide partnership of Delaware's Create a Jewish Legacy initiative. And I urge you, if you have not already done so, to pick up information to learn more about how you may join me in creating a personal Jewish legacy. And generosity, it isn't always monetary. You heard Rabbi Robinson speak about our soon-to-be-opened Beth Emeth Food Pantry. We need your non-perishable food donations to get it off the ground. And our B'nai Mitzvah students, they create wonderful and diverse mitzvah projects. When you see information about these projects, please take the time to read them and then help make these projects a reality. All these acts of generosity make our congregation stronger. All of these acts keep us growing. And yes, when you receive our Pesach appeal in the spring, please give what you can. Generosity has helped us provide security doors for the safety of our students and the new lecterns on our bima. Generosity of all kinds helps us support and take care of this place we call home. Shimon, the son of Rabban Gamliel, says, "It is not what one says, but rather what one does that makes all the difference in the world." In 5779 and beyond, please be generous to Beth Emeth in the way that is most meaningful. That is all I ask of you. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. We turn back to our Machzorim, to our High Holiday Prayer Books, to page 47, as we rise and as we return our Torah to the Ark. Let's remain standing for Aleinu L'Shabeach. Aleinu L'Shabeach Adon HaKol, Latet Gedula Liotzer Bereshit, Shelo Asanu Kegoye Haratzot, Elo Samanu Kamishpachot Adama, Shelo Sam Chalkeinu Kahen, Vegor Aleinu Kechol Hamonam, V'anachnu Korim, Umishtachavim Umodim, Lifnei Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ne'emar ve'aya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo top of page 50. There are stars up above, so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. If you are in the first 30 days of your mourning, I invite you to rise at this time. And if you are in the first year of your mourning, I invite you to rise. If on this Shabbat you observe a yahrzeit, the anniversary of a loved one's passing, I invite you to rise at this time. And if it is your custom to rise, to remember those whom only we can remember, I invite you to do so as we join together in Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal, V'yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'alma Divrach, Hiratei, V'yamlich Malchutei, V'chaye Echon, V'yom Echon, U'v'chaye D'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala U'v'zman Kariv, V'imru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam U'lalmei Almaya, Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shmei D'Kudshah B'richu, Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbechata V'nechemata, Ta'aniran V'yalma V'imru, Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom B'romav, V'yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. At this moment, we remember Barney Apotheker, Morris Berg, Sarah Berkowitz, Ann Sharon, Rose Goldberg, Minna Hirsch, Isaac Creeder, Molly Krinsky, Sally Miller, Jack Miller, Ida Myers, Louis Rapkin, Goldie Rapkin, Teresa Rosner, Dr. Mortimer B. Wackstein, Dr. Milton Wall, and Harold C. Wheatley Jr. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing, as we say.
Amen.
You may be seated. With tremendous gratitude to our musicians, to our lay choir, to our professional choir, to our Torah chanters and shofar blowers throughout this day, to all the ushers and greeters, our staff, and to all of you who make these high holidays special and meaningful. Thank you. It is a joy to be able to celebrate these days with you. We will be celebrating Tashlich, weather permitting. I haven't seen outside yet, so let's assume it's not raining. Probably in the back of the parking lot, immediately following this service. Just look for where the singing is. You'll find us there. Tomorrow, we have our second day Rosh HaShanah lunch and learn discussion led by our cantor. I hope you will join us for that. And you should have one of these pink-colored handouts that tell you all that is going on in our community. And as you depart this place, do you see all the paperwork that's on the table? Israel Bonds, the Voters Forum, those paper bags, those grocery bags, which will be handed one by one of those bestie kids you saw earlier. Take it all with you, because it doesn't do anybody any good here. See what belongs to you, see what speaks to you, and take it with you. In the meantime, we will conclude our service as we began, joining our amazing musicians, our choirs, and our cantor in song. Page 51. Let's all rise. I thank
I know someday it'll all turn around because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will pray one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day.
One day this old train, street people the same. Stop with the violence, down with the hate. Till we'll all be free and proud to be under the same sun. Why-oh, sometimes in my tears I get lost, but I never let it get me down. Take it to the surround. I know someday it'll all turn around. I've been waiting for, I've been waiting for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will be
Sweet New Year.
Shana Tova.